I'm Allie, and today I will present to you the purpose of education in relation to democracy for my sociology mini lesson. The citations I use for this presentation include Democracy at Risk by Richard Newman, who believes public schools are an essential tool that can be used to regenerate our democracy, and additionally, the Common School documentary published by the Films Media Group, who provide a deeper understanding upon the beginning of the American education system. Today, I will provide a brief lesson on the history of the U.S. education system and its significance to a democratic society. I'll also explain the key principles of a democratic government. I'll describe the important knowledge and skills that must be taught in a democratic society, and I'll explain why democracy must be reborn under every generation in order for citizens to actively participate in the American democratic system. Before the American Revolution, schools were primarily designed for the lower and middle classes, so only parents who could afford tutors could send their children to school and then prepare their children to take their place. These were recognized as dame schools. Some other older boys went to grammar schools where they studied mathematics, Latin, and philosophy, but only the most privileged had the means to continue on through college or university. Thus, the major thrust of schooling in the 18th century was to preserve the status quo and prepare children to be like their parents. This quickly changed after gaining independence from Britain, as political leaders such as Thomas Jefferson and Noah Webster believed there needed to be a national history that would create a sense of unity within America. But by the time of the Revolutionary War, the vast majority of Americans were educated just enough to read the newspaper or to do their taxes. Thus, after gaining independence, this meant America needed a self-governing body of citizens who could transition from subject to citizens. This belief was widely shared amongst the Founding Fathers, and it's recognized today as a democracy. Thus, public education became not just an ideal, but an imperative that would function to prepare citizens to make wise decisions in regards to political participation. As Newman writes, educational reform is crucial to the regeneration of democracy. This brings me to Horace Mann's Principles of a Democratic Education System. Founder of the American public school system, Mann believed in Jefferson's dream of a statewide school system and argued that in order to reflect a democracy, schools should be held accountable for teaching the following principles, including deciding on who would represent them, holding representatives responsible for helping all the people in the country, not just a few people, and acknowledging the power of the government. And then the only way to prepare citizens for democratic citizenship is through a public education system in which the common school would teach a body of knowledge that would give each student an equal chance of life. The survival of democracy then depended on educating all Americans, and this education would teach history, rhetoric, and government in addition to literacy in order to serve as a place where we could come together as a nation. Together, the efforts of Jefferson and Mann and other founding fathers worked towards effective citizenship and a free schooling system which was funded by the government through tax dollars. And this was successful in developing the common school. Since the foundation of the American democratic system depends entirely on the education system that it's created, and for citizens to take an active interest in the affairs of government, it's important for these skills to be developed as early as elementary and primary schools. For students, Newman suggests democratic citizens must acquire the ability to reflect critically and deliberate an understanding of social issues facing the nation. This could involve active participation in groups concerning principles of liberty, justice, and equality. It could mean careful examination of their history books or of what is being taught in the curriculum, and then taking the action necessary to achieve those goals. In addition to developing the student skills, teachers must revise the current curriculum and provide an accurate knowledge of history that allows the students to examine and then debate upon matters of social importance. This could mean providing students with opportunities to make decisions about their education or involving students in shaping school policy. Either way, on a broader scale, adopting standards that strengthen students' knowledge and skills would also require allocating additional time and resources to social studies in public schools and creating courses that deal explicitly with social problems, and also revising history textbooks with better accuracy. If schools and teachers and students fail to make this connection between public education and democratic citizenship, there becomes a consequence for the rebirth of democracy in every generation. And since the 19th century, this has been a considerable disagreement. Today, Americans have pivoted between whether the central priorities of public education should be to create skilled workers for economic gain or to educate young people for responsible citizenship. Although both goals are important, with the rise of a global economy, there's been a major shift away from preparing citizens and towards serving the needs of the marketplace. This debate has been ongoing, but Newman suggests several consequences that have arisen from this shift, including failed attempts to improve education, such as the No Child Left Behind Act, which resulted in a decline in social studies education, and also textbook-based curriculum, which offers students no practice in applying their understanding of the past to present concerns, and then no basis for thinking rationally. As a result, these policies have left many American citizens worse off and unprepared with the knowledge and skills necessary for conscious democratic participation, and this can leave the U.S. at risk in losing democracy and furthermore developing an unstable political system. Therefore, it's important to acknowledge democracy as dependent on an educated, politically capable citizenry or body of citizens. In conclusion, I would like you to revisit our student learning outcomes and understand that the survival of democracy is truly dependent upon the public education system and what educators, teachers, curriculum, students choose to take from the public education system. An education that should teach accurate history and portrayals of that history, should teach rhetoric and government in addition to literacy in order to serve as a place where we can come together and provide each student with the proper tools to participate in a democratic citizenship. If this does not happen, there are consequences to a failed democracy, and there are ways that we can become at risk for losing democracy and furthermore develop an unstable political system. Therefore, it's important to acknowledge democracy as dependent upon public education system. And for that, I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.